Welcome to Biology 1440. This is a majors biology course. Regardless of your major, this is the course designed for majors in biology. You may be a major in another related field that thinks that this would be a good course for your prerequisites. So you are going to be expected, no matter your major, to understand biology at the same level we would ask our majors to understand it at. So, my name is Professor Carafit. I'm making this particular video because there are always students that add the course a little late in the semester, and I'd like to give them a chance to hear the first lecture of the semester. Now, my office is in CCCS, that's the Conway Corporation Center for Sciences, number 205B. This is kind of what it looks like from the outside. My office phone number is 450-3229. I'll only answer that when I'm around during office hours. For office hours, check out the syllabus. And I have a video here you can check out if you get a chance. It's not made by me, but it's a great video to kind of destigmatize the importance of coming to office hours. A few things to keep in mind. Sign up for Mastering as soon as you can. Mastering Biology. That's something that comes with your book. Now, I will point out, though, if you don't have student aid yet, the way we're doing Mastering now, you have 14 days. You can create an account, a Mastering account, and for 14 days you'll have free access to the book and the homework. So you can do that through Blackboard. There's a link to Mastering through Blackboard, and if you have any questions, like for example, if you took Bio 1 a year ago and you need a new code, don't buy it again. Email melissa.bland@pearson.com and she'll get you signed up for that. We're going to have Mastering Biology assignments due starting the second week of class. In case of emergency, if we are in lecture, please note, depending where you have lecture for Bio 1, you will need to evacuate the building. So for example, if you are in room, let's say, like over here, what is it, room 102, we will likely exit the building this way and meet over here in the Ferris Center parking lot. Okay, so we would exit the room, go down the hall, and exit around the Ferris Center parking lot. If we were in room 100, we would exit out the emergency exit there and meet here. If we were in room 170 or 172, we'd likely exit out of the basement and meet in the faculty parking lot back here. So it depends where you are in the building, but you can check out all of these building emergency plans on the university website. If you are in lab and there's a building emergency, if you are in Bio 1 lab, then likely what we would do is exit out of this end of the building here, especially if you are in the room 107, and you would meet over here in this yard between Lewis and the Ferris Center here. If you were on this end of the building, you'd exit out this way. You'll get further instructions about where we would exit when you are in class. But if there is an emergency where we need to exit, please do so. Leave your stuff behind, form an orderly exit, and don't run off because they'll do a head count, and if you're missing, they'll think you're still in the building. Some tips on surviving Bio 1. Note that on your syllabus, I provided some tips from students on how to pass the course. But this is a course often seen by students as challenging. And it is challenging. There's a lot of material. It's not impossible by any means. It's not a course designed to weed you out or anything like that. It's just a course that has a lot of rigor, and it demands that you know the material, not just memorize it, but you understand it. And that takes work and dedication. And one thing I want to point out is that everyone in the course is going to be working hard and struggling. Sometimes students get this idea that they're the only ones who don't get it and then they quit. But what they need to learn is no, others are struggling too, and some have developed different ways of studying, different habits that are working well for them, while some do not. Nope, and my phone's ringing. Bloody hell. In your syllabus, there's a list of recommendations from other students on how to pass the course. But bear in mind, this is not a course designed to weed you out, but it is a course with a lot of demands, a lot of rigor, and you need to understand material, not simply memorize it. High school study skills likely will not serve you well in a course like this. So work hard from day one. Keep up with the readings, questions, and assignments. Start studying for exam 1 today. Test yourself a lot. This is really important. Test yourself a lot. Figure out what you don't know. And then don't be afraid to come see me and ask about it in class. Form study groups. Having a community is very important, not just for your well-being, but also for your success. Figure out your weekly schedule. Crop out unnecessary things. Time management is of the essence. Practice studying. Find like-minded people like the biology club, pre-med club, whatever. If you don't see a club of like-minded people, start one. And you can see me if you want advice on how to do that. In the syllabus, you can see, at least the semester here where I'm recording this, this may change, but my office hours listed there. These are the major topics of the course. You can see that in the syllabus. We are going to be using Campbell Biology this semester. And the current lab manual, which has a purple cover. It's the 4th edition, Chwinski, Kerafit, and Runge. Make sure you have the up-to-date copy. Lecture exams are going to be worth 300 points. You're going to have 4 of them. The lowest will be dropped. The final exam is worth 200 points and is cumulative, and you cannot drop it. The participation in the course is 100 points. That comes from attendance, various projects, mastering biology, things like that, which we'll get to eventually. Lab itself is worth 40% of your total grade, or 400 points. So if you add up everything, the course is at 1,000 points. Lecture is 600 points. Lab is 400 points. There are no makeup exams or assignments given. If you're going to miss an exam for an excused reason, then you can often either take it early or the weight of your final exam will be increased. Okay? Now, honor code, anytime you put your name on an assignment or turn it in some way, you're assenting to the statement that you have neither given nor received aid for this work, nor are you aware of anyone, including yourself, receiving aid for this work, and you can read the rest, but plagiarism is not tolerated. Even in group work, there is no group homework unless there's some very specific case which you'll be well informed of. All work is to be done on your own. There is supplemental instruction this semester. With an SI leader, you can attend SI, and you can earn up to 1 point per, up to 5 points on each exam by attending at least 5 SI sessions for that exam. So stay tuned for more info on that. We have a lab point distribution. This may change slightly from lab to lab, and it is subject to change, but this is my best estimate of the point distribution that we'll be using, and you'll be able to find that in the syllabus. If you are in the STEM residential college section of the course, then there are a number of events that are required, including participation in the pseudoscience fair, and there are several mandatory events that you'll have to attend, which I'll talk about the first day of class, but also I'll talk about throughout the semester to make sure everyone's ready. Another thing you might want to attend if you like learning about science, which if you're in this major, you certainly better be interested in science. Otherwise, you're in the wrong major. Science Wednesday is at King's live music bar there in Conway, and they lower the entrance age to 18 while this is going on. And you get a panel of scientists and other members of usually UCA faculty or members of the community to discuss the science of various topics, and you can see those listed below. Okay, well, I want to talk a little bit about ways to succeed in this course. First things first, I want you to understand that it's normal to struggle. I struggled. I was a first-generation college student. I worked my butt off, and I thought everyone in the room was smarter than me, and didn't understand how hard I had to work to do well. And I had to work my butt off. But I will point this out. So is everyone else around you. The worst thing you can do is to assume that you're the only one struggling and then give up. Sometimes if you're doing poorly and you've taken 2 tests and they've both not gone well, then maybe you should retake the course. That's something you'll have to decide on. But don't just give up because you think you can't learn it. You can. It's just trying to learn it at a level required for doing well in a college course is sometimes more challenging than students first realize, but you can do it. So, what do we do? Well, you may have not been asked to do this before, but you really do. I really expect you to read your book. While you're reading, you shouldn't just sit there and read, though. Ask questions and take notes while you are reading. Ask yourself questions. Does this make sense? If it doesn't, go back and read it again. Figure it out. Google it. Try to figure out what's going on. How does it work? These are questions you should be asking yourself. Answer active reading questions. I usually have an active reading guide with questions from each chapter that you can answer while you read to ensure you are understanding the material. Make sure to take note of anything you don't yet understand so you can start your notes and make note of things you don't understand and see if I answer them in lecture, and if not, you can ask me. During class, take handwritten notes. This is important. Yeah, you can type notes, I understand, but it works better to learn things by writing them by hand. And what you want to do is you want to be sure to oh, we got someone walking in over here. What you want to do is paraphrase. Don't write everything the instructor is saying. Flesh out the notes before you begin class from your reading. Participate in class. Ask questions. Help those around you. So when you're taking notes, it's really important that you take them by hand if possible. Don't try to write everything down. Summarize, paraphrase, make sketches. Your notes for Bio 1 are your study guide. Okay? Don't ask me for a study guide. That is your notes. Try using the Cornell Method. It's a good way to systematically take notes. I have a video link here you can check out. But the Cornell Method, in a nutshell, you divide up your notebook this way, kind of like a letter I. There's a line here and a line up and down here, then another horizontal line here. This area is for notes. This area is for, they call it the Q column. You can ask questions here that you can look at these questions to see if you understood what you took notes on here, or you can put some kind of outline here or important terms over here, things like that. You do this after you've done the note-taking spot. And then you summarize your notes in a couple of sentences here in the summary section. It makes you interpret the information that you've just taken notes on. So after class, review the material within 24 hours. That's really important unless you like working harder than you have to. Make connections with concept maps or other means of studying, something that goes beyond just rereading your notes. Quiz yourself a lot. Take a lot of self-quizzes on mastering. You can do that for free, once you bought the book. Form study groups. That says from study groups, but form study groups. Go to tutoring and SI. Remember, the TAs have tutoring upstairs and in their offices this semester, so lots of help available for you. We're going to do this in class. I'm not going to do this in this particular online lecture. But some study tips: start early. 2 to 3 hours of studying per lecture as minimum to do well. And rereading notes is not studying. So you need to test yourself, find holes in your knowledge, fill in those knowledge gaps, write your own questions, test your group partners and take their homemade tests, and test yourself a lot. Testing yourself is really important, because just like you don't practice for a baseball game by reading about baseball, you practice by practicing. You don't practice for a test by reading your notes. Make concept maps. Do all kinds of things to actively test yourself. Reading the book and just sitting there is not studying. That's why I have guided reading questions. That's why I encourage you to write notes, ask yourself questions while you are studying. So rereading notes makes you think you know things, but that's when you end up saying, I really knew it, but I don't know what happened on the exam, because you really didn't know it. So you need not to see it or reread it, but you have to retrieve it onto a blank page. Studying with a blank piece of paper in front of you, with your book shut, your notes shut, is very important. Explain things, draw things, compare and contrast things, teach things to your neighbor, your dog, your house plant, whatever. Act it out, model it, whatever it takes, but do it with your notes shut. Here's an example of a concept map. Some students find these very helpful to build. Building these is studying, and then you can use them to read and reflect on, to study further. And if you're artistic, you can really go full out on these things. So how do we know when we know something? Well, what you need to do is figure out what you don't know, and that's why you test yourself a lot. This gives you the evidence you need that there are things you actually do know and that there are holes in what you don't know, and then you need to work on fleshing those out. Okay? So studying is paramount in a course like this. You're going to learn more words in Bio 1 than you would in introductory Spanish. Okay? It's very important that you study, and you study well. There are lots of workshops on campus this semester on studying. Please go to those. Get as much help as you need, and get started now. Don't take it for granted that you'll be just fine. And for those of you just starting at university, I have this nice list of how high school is different from college, and I think a lot of these are pretty true. And these are some things that students love, but also pitfalls for some students. One, students must balance out their own schoolwork responsibilities, and a lot of you have families and family obligations and other jobs, so this is something you should probably plan out literally on paper how you're going to do this. Two, students choose their classes and start times, right? Sometimes you're forced to choose one you don't want to be in, like an 8 a.m. lecture, but hey, you chose it. Three, your responsibility to know when class begins and ends, right? You need to know where to be. No one's going to hold your hand and bring you to class. You have to make responsible choices and prioritize. If you don't study in time, you don't get extra time for homework or tests, right? There's 12 to 15 hours of class per week in college, and that's going to mean at least 20 hours of homework a week. You decide how and if you want to take notes. If you want to pass, you sure better. Tests are not as often, and they cover more material in college. Extra credit is often not a thing in college. You might be living on or off campus. Once again, some of you have families and kids of your own, so life is complicated for a lot of college students. So it's up to you to do your homework. It's up to you to seek out help if you need it. We have all kinds of great counseling. We have advising. We also have mental health counseling if you need it over in the Student Health Center. We have workshops on test anxiety. We have so many options out there to help you succeed, okay? And motivation. You're going to need to find your own motivation to succeed. You may not be seeing your parents as often as you used to. You may, be isolated here on campus. So finding your own motivation and then finding community is important, I think. I didn't do that enough when I was an undergrad. Being chronically lonely and I don't mean you can't get over loneliness by being on social media. I mean by having a club that you hang out with, or you go hiking with, or things you do on campus together. And like I said, if you need help starting a club like that, if there's not one that already exists for you, that can be done. So you're also going to be exposed to new ideas and value systems that may challenge your existing value system, and that's good. If your fundamental values are not challenged at least once in college, ask for your money back at the end of your education. So we are going to start with Chapter 1 next time. We're going to review the basic foundations of science, then move into chemistry, cells, and beyond. So I look forward to working with you. Don't be too scared. I'm just giving you some warnings. Please work hard, but also enjoy it. Biology is amazing, and we get to learn about the fundamental building blocks of our own bodies this semester, and that's pretty cool. So I will see you soon in class, and bring questions. Bye.